Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Short Films by Workforce Development and Partners. My name's Martin Webster. I'm the Workforce Development Manager for Children's and Adult Services, and I'm joined today by Kelly Rose from the Public Health team. Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. So I'm Darlington Public Health Lead Portfolio for Children and Young People, and I'm also a registered nutritionist. And I'm focusing on increasing healthy weight of our children and young people across Darlington and improving dietary quality to allow them to nourish and thrive.
That's great. Thanks, Kelly. So today we're going to be shooting a short film on working with families nutrition toolkit. We'll be sharing the presentation in a moment, and there'll be details at the end of this film around how you can access the short video as well, and how you can contact Kelly or the Workforce Development team. So we'll start sharing the presentation. I'll be asking some questions throughout, and Kelly will be taking us through it. So here we go with the sharing. Okay, that's great. So Kelly, can you talk us through the shared mission, please?
Yeah, I think it's important. It is a shared mission because we all really have that shared passion, I suppose, that we want our children and those in our care to be healthy and well nourished. We want them to be able to thrive and to be able to grow up and contribute positively to our society. And everybody needs everybody to basically achieve this together.
That's great. Thanks, Kelly. So just moving on to a key factor in terms of nutrition, childhood obesity. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact?
Yeah, I apologise you can't see very well on that slide, but the issues are really complex in terms of how obesity is developed. So it's a significant public health concern. Childhood obesity it really needs that compassionate approach because you've got lots of different elements. You've got the maternal obesity, you've got the poor diet and the sometimes not enough opportunity to move and play in the environment. The healthy environment that we're surrounded by and the culture that we live in, the fast food, advertising, all those types of things. There's the genetic element to it as well. It's multi levels. It's not just about move more, eat less. There's a lot of different factors involved, which is why everybody needs to work together to create that healthy environment and give our children, young people a better chance to have a healthy weight, to be able to thrive. And then, of course, it's really harmful for children, young people's health, not just physically, thinking about bone and joint health and respiratory and having a poor immunity, less able to fight off illnesses and viruses and things like that. More possibility of diabetes type 2 as they get older. But also those psychosocial problems, poor mental health, low self-esteem, higher risk of bullying. There's all these different elements that mean that we really need to take action to create that healthy environment.
That's great. Thanks, Kelly. Emotions play a huge part in our eating habits. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, so I think it's probably probably more people understand this than ever before. Within the COVID-19 pandemic situation, because a lot of uncertainty and stress can cause us to go to food for emotional, and it's in research it's often called eating in the absence of hunger. So it's not hungry, but you're just using it as a self-soothe in a way. And so it's about sort of finding other ways to support a positive mental health. But that's easier said than done. And of course, even, we all sort of can recognize what emotional eating is, but children, young people that have come from, lots of trauma and uncertainty and stress in the household are more likely to eat in the absence of hunger, whereas those from a really safe and predictable environment, I mean, we know that sort of looking at the Maslow's hierarchy and that safety for a child is really important. So yeah, so it's sort of in supporting families, we can really help parents and carers create that healthy environment that's going to help the development of these healthy food habits going forward.
That's really important. Thanks for sharing that. So just in terms of the toolkit itself, can you tell us what the toolkit aims to do and how it supports Darlington's healthy vision?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as thinking of our children and young people healthy outcomes. So if we think about all of our children and young people across Darlington, our vision is that, that child can say, I am a child who feels emotionally, physically healthy, with lots of opportunities to actively play and enjoy healthy foods. I am a young person who feels safe and nourished, able to live a positive life and look forward to the future. They're the healthy outcomes that we're really looking at for our Darlington vision. So the aims of the toolkit, just sort of to start off by saying that actually those working with families really get this. They already understand and have their own, lots of strategies in terms of engaging with families and really understanding the importance to developing those healthy family relationships. But for the toolkit, the primary aim is actually to enable and empower the caregivers to make the healthier food choices for themselves and for their children. And so to really provide the staff members with the understanding of those different factors that contribute to the development of obesity and really see the solutions and what they can do to sort of prevent malnutrition, poor nutrition, and also to think about that in the awareness and the importance of building a healthy relationship to food. The earlier we can do that, the better. But there are strategies that can be used at all age groups. And then obviously offer those practical strategies, simple strategies to support the families in making healthier choices easier.
That's brilliant. So in terms of some of those healthier choices, healthy weight of children and young people is obviously really important. Can you take us through some of those as well?
Yeah, so obviously the development of a healthy relationship to food means the child and young person is less likely to be using food as a tool. They're more likely to eat fruit and vegetables if they've, the food acceptance, if you like, is what I'm talking about. So food familiarity, or having that healthy relationship to food, being able to eat lots of fruit and vegetables, having that variety is really important. And those are different habits that can be formed, and we talk about that, and there's practical strategies in the toolkit for that. One of the main things is increasing the fibre, whole grains and fibre, and again there's things in the toolkit to support with that. But if you think about healthy microbiome, gut health, the digestive tract, having lots of good bacteria to support that healthy immunity, support that positive mental health, all of that. So fibre is really important. There's some really simple strategies that you can do at home to change that, and then being able to swap the snacks, so reduce the sugar and the high fat, high sugar, sort of fast foods, the junk foods, the healthier swaps. And again, we go through simple strategies for that as well. And thinking about portion sizes. So in terms of what we're looking at for our children's healthy weight plan, in terms of nutrition, it's fairly simple, because we're looking at increasing fruit and vegetable intake, fibre, and looking at appropriate portion sizes and the snack swaps. And obviously, although we don't go through, this is a nutrition toolkit, but it's really important to mention right now that good sleep routines, the importance of sleep, reducing screen time, increasing opportunities to be active must be mentioned, because it's the whole picture that's important.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kelly. Behaviour is a massive thing, isn't it, in terms of food and nutrition? Can you talk us through cognitive behaviour change principles?
Yeah, so cognitive, the way we think, the way our mind works and the way we think, these principles are being used in family-based weight intervention approaches, and they've been used a lot. So these social cognitive elements are really what we've used to develop the toolkit to help that long-term behaviour change. So they're built firstly around these three components: the nutrition education, sort of building in that knowledge awareness. What I always say is that it's all right giving the skills, but you sort of need to embed that belief that it's important first, and sort of having the knowledge and the awareness and the skills makes it easier and helps that person be empowered to make the changes. And then it's about overcoming the barriers that person's either put there themselves or the years of establishing certain habits means they don't quite believe they can change. So it's setting really small goals. So goal setting is a part of this. And then the social support, which for you, the staff that are talking to the families, is really important, because it's simple things, but it's just reminding them and helping them sort of feel empowered, and help them feel that they are making change, even though it might feel sometimes forward and 2 steps forwards and 3 steps backwards. That is the case with making healthy lifestyle changes sometimes.
Thanks, Kelly. And I know we've talked before about creating a healthy environment. Can you briefly talk us through the 4 steps that can support families to create a healthy environment?
Yeah, so what we've done is to simplify a process for the staff to follow, because when you're working with families, you're not just thinking about nutrition, you're thinking about all these different elements and all these issues that are going on. So we wanted this to be something that you could really look at and think, right, step 1, am I already halfway through, learning and engaging about this family? Do I already know quite a lot about them? But if we're starting right from the beginning, we're thinking about the eating behaviours have been really established. And I think it's important at this first step that you're really understanding that all of our food experiences from young are different. So how you think about food is not necessarily the way that another person thinks about food. And we all have our own experience, beliefs and programming, and that have developed these habits. So it's important to listen to the family first before offering any advice at all, really, and think about their cultural values, their cooking practices, the eating habits they've already got, and really building a picture and seeing and asking them sort of what they want to achieve. When we're thinking about a child for a foster parent, and this child's just come in and presented with certain issues. Now, bearing in mind that sometimes the child is coming in with already established issues around food, whether it be neglect in whatever way, or it might be that child comes in and it's just the whole uncertainty of being newly in care that then they start to change their relationship with food. So there's those 2 different ways, really. So it might be that they've got specific things that they want to work on as that family. So every family is going to be completely different. And I think this stage is so important to engage and really listen from a place of non-judgment. Food is so emotive, and everybody thinks that when you start talking about food, it can be sort of, you can feel a bit judged. So it's just really starting off from that listening, learning, engaging, and thinking if there are emotional responses to food, think about what they are and how that could, how you could think about different ways, and we can talk about that later as well. So that's step 1.
Great, thank you. Step 2?
Yeah, so this is a really great way and a really fun way that you can literally leave the vision mapping with the family and walk away and come back later. So there's not really anything for you to do other than explain to them how it works, and sort of, I suppose, get them a bit excited, because what's really good is if the family can be on the same page and do this together. So you'll see I've put sort of a slide to show what it can look like next, but it can be a really good way to get them on that shared mission, a shared goal of what everybody wants and how they want to feel. It could be that they all want to be sitting at the table together at least a couple of times a week, and that's not really happening. They want to enjoy food without any sort of confrontation, and that could be part of it. It could be that they just want to establish an eating routine, and a young person's come in and really struggling with this routine, and they're trying to work with that. So whatever it is, getting them to sit around and say, how do you want to feel? What do you think that being healthy looks like? What do you think healthy food looks like for you? And what do you want to feel like? And and just literally, you can get pictures out of magazines and stick them on. You could get young children to draw pictures and put it all together. But the vision mapping is quite a nice exercise to get everybody focused, and it really helps each family member see what the other people are thinking in the family as well. Yeah, so this is just sort of some things that I put on. Obviously, when you see it, it's a printable page. So you can look at the vision mapping tool and you can print that out and give that to them, and they, you know, can stick the pictures on, draw the pictures, whatever they want to do. And you can see there that there's young children, there's somebody, yeah, a young girl trying to concentrate at the boards. It's about sort of a good school performance. Some families I know that I've spoke to actually have their own gardens. Totally in awe of that. One day I might have time, but being active and, you know, all these different things, healthy pack lunches, batch cooking, menu planning together, whatever it may be, there's lots of elements and it's all unique to that family, what being healthy means to them.
That sounds great, and sounds like it'd be lots of fun for people to engage with as well. Okay, can you take us through step 3?
Yes, so step 3, so there is 4, so we're nearly there. So it's all, that's a huge part of it, because then you're really getting them motivated and thinking, yeah, you know, we need to set some actions. So now you're supporting them to set actions. So you'll see in the tool, again, printable tool, you can set what those actions are, and it's really important that sometimes they have to be tiny actions, really small steps. It could be that the vision map is like huge, but you're sort of encouraging these small actions first, and then you can revisit them in a month or two's time. And like I say, it might be that they literally just want to establish an eating pattern, and you might just start with breakfast, and you're just talking about the action is, these are the breakfasts. You can discuss some healthy breakfasts, and there's lots of examples in the toolkit. And then you could say, right, it is that each morning at so and so time you do that. If the family's rushing about, it might be there might be certain things you've got to do to get them to have the breakfast, but it might be that's the real focus for that action. And thinking about the bite-sized changes, because if you know, the family, if they've done the vision map and they're really keen and they want to do everything, you know, you sort of have to say, right, well, let's start small first, because the motivation's high at this point. So it's managing expectations, because if they try and go towards all these changes, it's like starting a diet on a Monday and you really go for it, and then you think by Wednesday, you think, oh, this is really hard and it's too much, and you just go back to how you were doing before, because it's just too much. So thinking about managing their expectations and really keeping that motivation going. So one of the things I've put on there as well is non-food rewards. So thinking about a reward on the goal action plan, because that's you know, there's an evidence to show that when there's a reward there, you're more likely to keep that motivation sustained and keep going. So again, obviously for every family that's going to be totally different. It might be younger children, more time in the park, or you know, trying to sort of get those really healthy rewards. It might be being able to play a musical instrument, having more time reading, you know, having some time making smoothies, or, you know, there's loads of different things. It could be that they couldn't buy a game that they wanted. So thinking about different things, but changing the relationship to reaching for the more high sugar fast food rewards. There, so there's the example, and you'll see in the toolkit, you can print it out, and there's an example for you. I know it's really small on the slides, but you'll be able to see in your toolkit some of those things, and really having how you're going to do it, when you're going to do, and what the reward is, so they can look at that and keep checking with it. And the smaller it is, the more likely they can just keep checking in and sticking to that action.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And some points to consider with regard to that.
Yeah, and I just want to say what's come into my head is progress, not perfection. So always thinking, you know, people really beat themselves up for not being perfect. There's no such thing. So always that progress, not perfection. So yeah, I've already sort of covered this really. Just remember to begin small and promote that self-confidence, that empowerment, you know, let them know they can do it. It's sort of helping people to create that self-belief, so then they can go off and fly and be able to do it themselves. Because often, you know, you don't always believe that you can do it, or you think you're not good enough, and oh, I can't do that. And the amount of times I've heard people say, oh, but I can't cook. You know, we can all do it. If I can cook, anybody can. You know, I didn't start till older cooking, then I started teaching it. So if anybody can cook, if I can cook, anybody really can. It doesn't have to be complicated. But I did mention about managing the expectations, that reinforcement, and using the vision map tool to sort of help reinforce that at consequent visits as well. Remember, this is what you said you wanted to feel like. That's going to really help you get to those goals. And it's okay that it's taking a bit of time. This is a long-term strategy. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and that type of, language that can, and having the consistent messages. So you'll find in the toolkit, the idea is that, the Change for Life resources, the Public Health England resources, the British Nutrition Foundation resources, those are things that we're using across the town, in school campaigns, in campaigns across the town, and things that we've got going on, town centre and shopping centres and things like that. The idea is, and leisure centre, that we will be able to join these messages up so that children and young people are hearing this in the home, and then they're also hearing it from school and other parts of other things that are going on. So yeah, the consistent message part of it's really important.
Brilliant, thank you. So again, why is it important to revisit and reflect?
Yeah, so the step 4 is when you're going back, and however many times this takes, depending on each family, you might find that there's lots of things already going in this family, and there's hardly there's not much to do there. And I've got a checklist there that you can go through and just check things against to see if there's anything that they can improve on in terms of support their children and young people in their family and their knowledge as a family as well. So just following up, they've agreed that healthy change that they wanted to go on. And so asking them, how's it been going? All those open questions, what went well? How easy was it? Was there any challenges? Why was it challenging? And really listen, again, with compassion and non-judgment, listening for where their trigger times are, because often when you start off, you're not thinking of the triggering situations and the sort of, certain things that come up at times of the day when people get hangry and certain things happen. You think, oh, like, I can't do that right now. And then they get annoyed and beat themselves up and feel a bit of shame around that they hadn't been able to carry it out, when actually that's just normal life. So it's saying that's okay. So at that time of the day, what do you think we could do to support that? Or, let's step back a bit. So it's having those conversations, which actually are not as long as you think they would be when you're revisiting these things, because you've already done the listening, you understand how the family works and what's important to them. And then really thinking of that solutions focused moving forward, and encouraging the honest conversations, because the more they recognise the barriers, the more they recognise the trigger situations, the more they will actually already be thinking about things they can do to move forward. So you're giving them a sounding board. And so remember that there's no right or wrong. Every family is unique, and it's just to keep making that progress and improving the dietary quality, just tiny things at each time. Small changes make big population changes.
Brilliant, that's a great message. So we talked a little bit previously about consistency. So what do we mean by consistency in these terms, and why is it important?
Yeah, so it's so easy to get to be drawn in complications. We have sort of lots of messages about different diets here and different ways to eat, and everybody gets, there's a recognized psychological effect called what the heck effect, because you're like, oh, well, if I listened to everything, I wouldn't eat anything, that type of situation. And that's quite helpful to sometimes certain ways of eating and advertising and things like that. So I think it's really important for you, for the staff, to keep it as simple as possible. And that's what we've done when we've produced this together, looked at specific things that are going to be, even though the family are going to have different goals and visions and ideas about health, it actually comes down to very simple messages. That healthy routine, understanding what a balanced diet is, why it's important, what it is, what it looks like, portion control, that portion sizes, and fibre, real tricks to just get fibre in, and then the sugar message, sort of really thinking about the healthy snack swaps. So on the checklist, that's for you to look at and think about when they're setting their goals, how you can make sure that whatever that goal is, you can meet these simple, consistent messages and everything is linked. Everything in the toolkit after it is linked to each of those ideas for action. So if you can crack all of them on that list, you're winning.
Fantastic. And can you just run us through the resources in the toolkit again?
Yes, so you've got the vision mapping tool, the fun, make it as fun as possible. When there's a real huge part of evidence that shows that when children, young people see things as fun, they're going to more likely to want to do them again, more likely to carry them through. So, and it's the same when you're thinking about sitting and eating together, when you're cooking together, when you're preparing, you know, that you're not worrying too much about mess and all of this. It's like you're thinking about actually making things really fun for them, and it will make a difference later on to their relationship with food. So vision mapping tool, make it fun. The family action plan that you're doing with them and helping them write that action plan together. And then you've got the checklist for you to support you keeping with the most impactful messages, keeping to the resources. There's lots of signposts in there to them specific places. Even in terms of printouts and activities and all those types of things that you might want to use to support their knowledge, your knowledge, and when you're setting those actions. And then the end of the toolkit is the appendix, which is all the tip sheets, increasing fibre, all the different resources. There's even things like posters and like showing the hand sizes for portion sizes, the Eat Well guide activities. So they're all, you can print those off and the family can use them as activities as well, or give them as tip sheets if they're working on that specific thing. So there's lots there for you to use for them to help them create a healthy environment.
That's great. Thanks, Kelly. And brilliantly as well, the toolkit's evidence-based as well. Can you just explain a little bit about what the evidence base was?
Yeah, so there's obviously from the beginning when we talked about the cognitive behaviour approaches, we looked at what had worked in numerous studies where there was a family-based setting, and then also looking at young people's eating behaviours, and then thinking about fitting this always in with Public Health England. So if you can actually, this is a really helpful resource for working with families, children throughout the life course, and it's applying all our Health 2020 guidance, which is really the main document when we're thinking about how we've developed this toolkit and where you can find information for how we've developed it. So in terms of resources for the different life course stages, you know, from preconception to maternity, birth to 5 years, those early years is really important, developmental years, and from age 5 to 18 years as well. So there's links on here that you can go into, and there's more information, like, as I say, on the toolkit as well, which you will have access to be able to use.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to stop sharing the presentation now. And we're pretty much at the end of the recording. I just wanted to say thank you very much to Kelly and to all the other contributors for joining us today. It's been really interesting hearing about all of the different aspects of nutrition and learning about the toolkit as well. And we'll be able to access this, and colleagues across the board will be able to access this from the workforce development intranet pages that we're setting up around food and nutrition. And also we'll be able to send this out to partners across the board in Darlington. So thanks for joining us, Kelly. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, cheers all. Thank you.